Hello friends, how is it going? It's me, Betty Jean. I figured we would do this cozy reading video in my little library. I've filmed vlog clips in here before, but I've never filmed an official video in here before, and I'm already so happy. I feel cozy, I feel in my element. I'm excited to chat with you. In this video, I wanted to do a 23 books I loved in 2023. This is an accumulation of most of the 5-star reads. I didn't want to repeat things within the same series as best as I could avoid, but mostly all my 5-star reads, and then a lot of my upper 4-star, 4.5, 4.75, just things that really stuck with me. I read so many good books this year. If you've been here before, you already know, but if you're new, welcome. I restarted my reading journey this year, mid-February. I picked up my first book again in a very long time, and I have dove so deep into books. How many have I even read this year? Let me tell you. At the moment that I'm filming this, I've read 112 books. 5 I did DNF, so if you don't count those, then it's been 107 books. But 107 books since mid-February, and we're only about halfway through the month right now, so I'll still get a few books in there, but it's been such a fun year. I'm so glad that I got back into reading. It's been so happy for me. I used to love reading as a kid and in middle school and high school, and I just kind of lost it in adulthood. And now at my 29th year of life, getting back into reading, it's been the best thing ever. I've read so many things that have meant the world to me. They've really resonated with me and stuck with me, and I'm just really excited to see what next year holds. I think there's going to be some really good books. I already have so many books on my physical TBR that I'm so excited to dive into next year, and I just wanted to talk about my absolute top favorites from this year. So I'm going to be talking about 23 books that I loved in 2023. I do also have one honorable mention because I didn't technically rate it highly, but I feel like it deserves a shout out, and I'll get into why later. But I would also love to hear your favorites. What are the things that you loved in 2023? What books have been your favorites? Maybe some of these will match with yours. Maybe some of these will just add something new to your list. I know I'm constantly updating my list of things that I want to read, so please leave your favorites from the year down below. Before we get into it, as far as my accessories, makeup, all that good stuff, I did film this look. It should already be on my channel by the time this video goes up if you are interested. It's part of my 3 looks video with my Simply Posh, Lethal Cosmetics, and Salem Cosmetics palette. As far as my accessories, these earrings and this necklace that is simply hiding are from the brand Suki Blade. So yeah, without further ado, let's just hop in. I have my cozy spooky coffee, and we are going to chat about these 23 books. Oh, I'm so excited to dive into this. And as a side note, I do reading wrap-up, get ready with me videos at the beginning of every month now. So if you want to see basically all of these books more in non-spoiler depth with my thoughts, you can go check out those videos. And there's obviously so many more books than just these 23 that I loved. Like I said, I'm trying not to repeat within the same series for this video. I'll just kind of give you the overview about the series if that whole thing was a hit, and I'll just talk about my favorite one from the series. And there's also just books that I really, really enjoyed, but when I was trying to narrow it down to 23, some of them got cut. But so many books were amazing this year. These are just 23 of them. I'm gonna go in no particular order. I think I just want to start with the 4-star realm, the upper 4s, and then we'll get into the 5s, and then we'll get into my honorable mention later. First up, Throne of the Fallen by Carrie Maniscalco. I love this book. It's so good. I love this world. This is from the same world as the Kingdom of the Wicked trilogy, but this is kind of a extra book alongside of it. This is through Envy's perspective, whereas the Kingdom of the Wicked trilogy is more of Amelia and Rath's story, but this is just a separate one dealing with Envy's story. It's a big boy, so thick. I got the Barnes & Noble exclusive because I just really love this cover. I think it's so beautiful. I loved it. Nothing I'd say today is going to be spoiler related. I'm just going to give you the general overview. This is very much fantasy dealing with the 7 princes of hell. We get Envy's story, all his backstory on what he's going through, and just this current journey he's on. He's trying to basically complete this game that he got wrapped into. It's a whole thing. It's a whole drama-filled adventure situation. I loved every second of this. It was so, so good, and now I am hoping so bad that we get all of the other Princes of Hell's individual stories because this was so good. I ate it up. I love the Kingdom of the Wicked trilogy, but this surpassed it by far. It was amazing. Oh, next up, Lovelight Farms by B.K. Borison. This is actually probably one of the only Christmas books I rated super highly. For the most part, Christmas books that I've read this year were very much in the 3 to 3.5 zone, very just mid. It's cute, but it's not life-changing. This and one other one that I'm not really going to mention, but I'll talk about it later. This one I loved. I think I gave this one like a solid like 4.5 stars. It's just so cute. This was very much a like friends to lovers, fake dating. She owns a Christmas tree farm and she's trying so hard to gain more funding for it because it's not doing so well. So she enters like an Instagram contest and she puts that she's in a relationship because the person who hosts the contest usually favors couples. So she wanted that extra boost, but then she got chosen and it's like, I don't have a boyfriend. So she gets her best friend to fake date her for the purposes of this competition, and it's just such a cute story. I loved both of them so much. I loved all the side characters. I actually already picked up 2 other books in this like world because I want to see more of these characters' stories, and I think a 4th one comes out next year as well. I love it. This is so good. This was my first time reading a book by this author, and I'm in love. Like, I need everything she's ever written ever. So freaking cute. I feel like I have 3 genres. I love a cheesy romance, I love a thriller, and I love a fantasy. Every so often I'll mix in like a literary fiction, but that's not my top genre. Those 3 are my top genres. And speaking of thrillers, The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. I never know how to say this name. I'm sure the pronunciation police will arrest me. But this is the only thing I've read from this author so far, and I loved it. My mother-in-law actually gave it to me for my birthday, and it was so good. Just such a weird, suspenseful, trying to figure out what's happening at this house across the lake. Her husband died. She is living in this lake house temporarily to kind of get her life together and have some alone time. And there's just weirdness happening in this house across the lake. She's trying to figure out what's going on. You just never really know what's happening. I did not see the twist coming in this one. I thought it was so interesting. I just loved it. I love trying to put the pieces together. Like, I knew it wasn't going to be this one thing, but then I didn't expect it to be the thing. It was such a fun time. I really want to read more books from this author, so let me know what your favorites are. Only one left definitely appeals to me. There's another one. Final Girls, I think, is one as well. Those sound really good, but let me know what your favorites are because I need more. Oh, this one takes me back. Witch Please by Anne Aguirre. This is one of the first ones I read when I was first getting back into my reading journey. I think I read this like early March. There are 3 in this little series. Each one kind of deals with a different member of their little coven, and it's so fun. I think the first one was my favorite though. It was very much a like, she's like a witch who co-owns a little like hardware repair shop called Fix It Witches. It's very cute. And then the guy, the love interest, owns Sugar Daddy's Bakery, and they fall for each other, but it's kind of like a forbidden love thing because he thinks he is destined to never be with anyone because something always goes wrong. And then he's just like a regular dude and she's a witch, and you're not supposed to like cohabitate like that in this situation. So it was just very cute. I loved the characters. I loved all the side characters. I loved the town this was set in. It was just cozy and wholesome, and it was so fun. And oh, this is bringing me back memories. Like when I first was reading this, I'm so glad I got back into my reading journey. If you are someone who's like, I want to read more books, simply just do it. That's what I did. I literally just bought a book, and then I was like, oh, I'm obsessed with reading again. And I feel like I do read fairly fast, but I also like do prioritize reading a bit. Like I always try to read before bed, at least 30 minutes before bed. Even if I could only read like 15, 20 minutes, like at least something. I always want to read before bed every night. I bring my books to work with me in case like maybe I finish a client like 45 minutes earlier than planned and I have this time to kill, and like maybe all my cleaning is done and all that stuff. I have a book to read. I bring it with me everywhere. Like if I'm ever just like out and about and then I find myself just waiting around for whatever reason, I have my book with me. I just always have it and I love it. It's one of my favorite things. Oh man, next up. By a Thread by Lucy Score. Lucy Score has become one of my top favorite romance authors of all time. I love her with my entire being. I will eventually own everything she has ever written. I haven't read a single book from her so far that I didn't like. Even her Christmas book. Like it wasn't like my favorite thing in the world she's ever written, but it was still really good. Like, and especially for a Christmas book, like I rated that one pretty highly. That wasn't even the one I was referencing earlier. There's another Christmas book that I feel like I did rate highly. I just had to narrow it down for this video. But By a Thread is super cute. Very much a like grumpy meets sunshine, workplace romance. Basically this rich guy who works and I think like partially owns his mother's like fashion company. He gets this girl fired at her little pizza store. And then his mom is like pretty furious at that fact. So she gives her a job and basically says like, my son can't fire you. So they're kind of like stuck together. They do not like each other. I don't know if I would go as far as to say enemies to lovers, but very much grumpy sunshine. Like he is a grumpy, gruff dude. She's very bubbly and personable, and it was just such a fun story. I didn't know if this premise would even really appeal to me, just being like at this like fashion-y type world, but it was so freaking cute. I just feel like Lucy Score is so good at developing characters and giving us like really fun story, and especially the side characters. I feel like she builds up side characters really, really well and makes them really interesting without it being overwhelming. So cute. So freaking cute. Oh, this one I loved. I loved this one. Obviously, it's in this video. This is Cackle by Rachel Harrison. I freaking loved this book. I actually got this as a gift from my friend Jenny. I didn't know anything about this. Like, I'd never heard of this before when she gifted it to me, and I loved it. Very much just like a witchy friendship, kind of self-discovery story. It was so good. Like, I felt so just happy after I finished this book. I wasn't even sure where this was going to go, because it starts out with her, our main character, Annie. She recently had a bad breakup with her boyfriend, and she moved away, and she's definitely struggling with that. So in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is going to end up turning into a romance of some sort. Like, she's going to find either someone else or get back together with him. Like, it's going to be something. It was very much just like a fun, like, self-discovery, like figuring out what she needs in life and meeting this witch friend. It was so fun. I had no clue what to expect with this one, and I was so pleasantly surprised. Like, honestly, I think I rated this like a 4.5 or 4.75. I would potentially change my rating to a 5. I just loved it. I feel like this one stuck with me. It was such a fun time. Well, maybe I didn't rate it a 5 just because there were certain parts of the book where I was kind of like unsure of what was going on. But then it like came back together for me. I don't know. It was a fantastic book. My last one in this pile before we get into the giant stack of 5-star reads was My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. I've only read this one in Final Girl Support Group so far by him, and Final Girl Support Group was good. My Best Friend's Exorcism was by far so amazing. It felt like I was watching a cheesy 80s horror movie. The world building was so fun in this. It takes place in the 80s. It's basically this girl and her best friend. They go off doing shenanigans, and the best friend ends up, something happens to her. She gets lost in the woods, everything's going crazy. She is not well, and her friend needs to help her out. It ends up turning into a big exorcism thing. It was so fun. It was gross. It was funny. Spooky vibes, but it wasn't scary, in my opinion. I thought this was such a fun book. I really want to read the Southern Guide to Slaying Vampires or whatever it's called, and I also want to read, oh, there's some other one about a house, but I don't own those two yet. I've only read the 2 so far. Moving on now into my stack of 5 stars. Oh, I love seeing these books. Even these books that I just talked about, like, I just have so much love for them. I have so much love for so many of these books behind me. Ah, this is such a happy time. All right, again, in no particular order, I just have them stacked and we're just gonna go for it. First one on this stack is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I love this world. I've read this one and the second one. Both were 5 stars for me, but if I had to pick a favorite, it would be the first one so far. So excited to see what is more to come in this world. It's just crazy. This is basically a fantasy about dragon riders where you go to this school and basically you either have to like complete it and graduate and get bonded to a dragon, or you end up dying at some point. Like, it's a very ruthless school. Like, you can die so easily from a variety of things. It's very competitive, so you could die at the hands of another student. It is such a high stakes, fun time. I love the love interest in here. I love all the friends in here as well. I think the characters are built up really well in this story. I love the dragon aspect. It's just fun and it's thrilling and it's exciting. And I ate this up. I think this is such a fun world and I just cannot wait for more. I'm so excited to see what more is to come in this series. Oh, I loved this one. I almost forgot about this one and I just read it. Not like forgot about it, but like it just escaped my brain. This was actually my book of the month pick for November. I only just started using book of the month a couple months ago, and one of them I DNF'd. One of them was only okay, but this one I freaking loved. Like, I was cheesing so hard the whole time. I just felt so happy. Like, whenever I finished the book, I literally just had to kind of give it a hug. It was such a beautiful 5-star book for me. This is basically a story about, what's our main character's name? Gemma. She gets dumped by her long-term boyfriend. She's going through it. It's not well. Her aunt kind of has her sister, and her best friend, what is his name? Dax. She has all of them kind of do like a cleansing spell for Gemma. And it's just supposed to be a silly, nonsensical thing, but it's this whole cleansing spell where Gemma basically can forget that her ex ever existed. Well, coincidentally, the same night that she met her ex years prior was the same night she met her best friend Dax. So because of what happened there, she also like Dax is not a part of her life. So she wakes up the next day, like she can remember things. It just, these things didn't happen to her. So we're still in present day. It's just basically like the last 4 years or whatever didn't happen the way she remembers it. So she's trying to get reacquainted with Dax. She's trying to figure out what's happening in her world now. Like her whole job situation is totally different. For the most part, things are looking like better than they were before. She's like starting to form more of a romantic relationship with Dax that she didn't have previously. But then on the flip side, like while so many things are going well for her, so many things are not going so well for other people in her life. So she kind of has to make this decision of like, do I stay here or do I go back and risk like losing all of these things that I've like gained and enjoyed and found love in? It was so cool. I really didn't know what was going to happen. Like I hoped things were going to work out, but I didn't know in what way they were going to work out. I just thought this was so cute. I love Dax so much. He was such a good character and it was just such a cute little book. I loved it. It was like magical without it being like Halloween or witches or anything like that. It was just like mostly just like a time travel romance or like parallel universe. It was so freaking good. I'm so glad I picked this one up. Oh, Lucy Score, you sly dog, you did it again. I'd actually read this one before I read By a Thread. This is Things We Never Got Over from the Knock 'Em Out series. All of those books are fan-freaking-tastic. That is such a good trilogy. Like one of my favorite things I read the entire year was that trilogy. But the first one was my favorite, I think. Oh, it's hard between the first and the third because I loved Lucian and Sloane's story. But I mean, Knox and Naomi is what started it all. So I think the first one's my favorite. That's what I'm going to stick with. These are so good. Again, Lucy Score is just so good at writing like characters and building up side characters. And since this was a trilogy, like this ended up being a whole world because each book kind of takes place like through a different friend in the friend group's perspective. Like the second book is through Knox's brother's perspective, and then the third book is through their friend's perspective. It was just so good. This one is specifically a very much like Grumpy meets Sunshine. Knox is such a gruff, grumpy dude, and Naomi is very much a like peppy, happy, quirky kind of girl, and I just love it. I love the town of Knock 'Em Out. I feel like I can visualize it so clearly. Romance books typically have no business being 500 pages, but something about the way Lucy Score writes them, I eat them up. I read them so fast. I get so lost and sucked into the world. I am obsessed. I love Lucy Score so much. I read, I think, 5 or 6 of her books this year, and I want to read more of them so bad. So bad. I love this trilogy. This is one of my top favorites of the entire year. Like obviously all of these are top favorites, but like out of these that I'm mentioning, this one is way up there. Like this is for sure in my top 3 of romances specifically. And we'll give you the other 2 top favorite romances in a moment. Moving on. Abby Jimenez, Part of Your World. This is part of like a duology. That's this one and Yours Truly. And honestly, I love both of them equally. I couldn't decide which one to talk about for this video, so I just went with the first one. The second one just takes place through her friend's perspective, but both of them are just so cute. I really like Abby Jimenez's writing. I actually have 3 more of her books up on my TBR shelf ahead of me, and I'm very excited to dive into them. She's so good at writing these characters and giving them these really fun stories. This one was very much a like, she works in the city, she has this great job at the hospital, like she is like bougie and rich, and then the love interest, he's like this small town guy, super sweet, super kind, but he just like lives in like the middle of nowhere, like on a farm basically, trying to run a bed and breakfast. Like it's so cute, so wholesome. So it's very much a like, does she change her life to be with him? Does he change his life to be with her? So it was just cute. It was such a fun story. And again, the sequel was just adorable as well. I am really impressed with her writing so far. Next up, this series I actually want to reread next year just because I loved this world and I'm like kind of sad that it's over, you know? But the whole CRAVE series by Tracy Wolff was so good, but the second one, Crush, was my favorite, so I figured this is the one I would hold up for this video. But the entire CRAVE series, I think there's 6 of them. Yeah, there's 6 of them. The 6th one came out this year, and I'm so sad that it's over. This was so fun. I ate these up. It's very much a like supernatural YA fantasy, and I just loved it. It is not like Twilight, and I love Twilight. I have such a love for Twilight, and I always will. This is so different though. Like, yes, there's like vampires and werewolves and stuff like that, but there's also so much more. Like, we have witches and like other things that I don't want to dive into too deeply because like discovering all these things is part of the fun of these books. But it's fun. It's like romance and adventure and quests, and it was just so cool. And each book I feel like has such a different vibe, even though it's taking place like picking up right where the previous one left off. This was such a fun series and I would love to reread it. The second one specifically was my favorite. It's so cute. Oh, I love these books. I love them so much. Another series that I am head over heels obsessed with, no surprise to anyone, is the ACOUTAR series, A Court of Thorns and Roses. Specifically, my favorite one is the second one, A Court of Mist and Fury. The second one and the last one so far. There's more coming. But this one and Silver Flames are my two favorites, but I think the second one is my top favorite. So good. This is a fantasy series, very romantic-y, like there's romance and fantasy mixed together. We have our main character, Feyre, and she ends up in the first book doing something that makes her end up having to get banished to the Fey realm, basically. And each book, again, is kind of tackling different things and it's story building, and I don't want to say too much because it's really fun to discover on your own, but it is just such a fun ride. The first book specifically is kind of like a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and then it really just kind of branches off from there, and it gets intense. There's a lot of like war and high stakes, and I just love all the characters. I love the Fey realm. I am wanting more so bad. I know that she's in the works for the next book. I don't know how many more are in the series total, but so far there's 4 books and 1 novella, and I just want more. So bad. I'm actually going to be diving into the Throne of Glass world, starting, really I already kind of started it because I started with the novellas in Assassin's Blade, and I'm going to be going into Throne of Glass soon, and then I'll be getting into the rest of the universe next year, and I'm so excited. Love Sarah J. Maas. I think she's doing great things just in general. She's really good at building up these fantasy worlds. I can't wait to finish Throne of Glass so that I can start the Crescent City series as well, because I know the 3rd one comes out very soon. There's just so much to discover, and I am so excited about it. Next up, kind of branching off a little bit here, but The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I loved this. This one's more literary fiction, so a little bit different than what I typically love, clearly, but I loved this book. I also really loved Daisy Jones and the Six, but again, I was trying to narrow it down for this video, and I think I liked this one more than Daisy Jones. This was so good. It's basically, we have this Hollywood starlet from like back in the day. She's like old now. And she is giving this interview basically telling the raw, true story about the truth behind all 7 husbands of Evelyn Hugo. And it was such a beautiful story. I don't really want to say much because I feel like it was such a great story to let it unfold for myself, because I didn't know much about this going in, but it's just about like love and friendship and fame and the cost of fame and forbidden love and all these beautiful things and heart-wrenching things. And it was just such a beautiful, well-written book. I'm really into Taylor Jenkins Reid so far. It seems like she's pretty divided for most people. So far I've only read 2 books and I loved them both. So maybe these are just the only 2 that I will like. Maybe I just love all of her writing. We will see. I really want to read One True Loves so badly. But this one was such a fantastic book. I would love to see this turned into a TV show or a movie so badly. Next up, one of my other top favorite romances of the year. I think this is my #1 favorite romance of the year. Like, I love this book more than words can explain. This is Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. Christina Lauren is actually 2 authors, Christina and Lauren. I love them both so much. They are so good with romances. I've loved everything I've read so far. I've only read 3 books, but I've loved them. One of them was a Christmas book and a holidays that, again, I rated very highly, but I didn't feel like I should include it in this video because I didn't want this video flooded with Christmas books. But just know I've loved all 3 books that I've read from her so far. She's another one that I will eventually own everything. She has such a way with words, with characters, with stories. I love this one. This is very much a like past to present perspective. We have childhood friends to lovers. It's basically our character, I think it's like a vacation house, like on a lake. And they move in and they go very often. It's like her and her dad, her mom had passed away. So they have this like lake house retreat to like kind of go and escape reality and go hang out. And then the next door neighbor ends up becoming like her best friend. And we're chapter by chapter seeing like past and present perspective of like what's happening right now. Clearly they had a falling out of some sort because there's tension. But then we go into the past and like year by year, we're like seeing their friendship blossom and seeing it turn into like romance. And then it's like, what happened? What happened to make them like not a thing anymore? Like, why did they separate? Why is there tension? And the tears that I shed at the end of this book when you figure out like what happened between them. Oh my gosh, it like broke my heart. I love this so much. I probably will reread this at some point because I just freaking loved it. Her books are so fast paced. You will gobble this up, especially if you're into like romance. And I think these are my favorite tropes. Like, I mean, I love fake dating. I love grumpy sunshine. I love enemies to lovers. Ooh, enemies to lovers might be my favorite though. But I also really love just like past, present perspective and childhood friends to lovers. I eat that up. It's so wholesome and wonderful. And I love the past and present perspective because in books with that, it's always written that way because there's something that went wrong. So you're trying to piece together like, okay, things were really well at this point. What happened to make things not well now? And I just love trying to like ping pong back and forth, trying to figure out what happened. Oh, I love it so much. And honestly, on the same topic, my other favorite like romance from the year was Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. It's honestly very similar to Love in Other Words, but also different because it's not the exact same. It's similar in the sense that it's like, again, past, present perspective, childhood friends to lovers. Our main character, her family gets like a vacation house and they see each other every summer. But it's very different. Like the way things end up rounding out at the end are so vastly different than this one. This one, the way they fall out is just incredibly different. It's honestly not my favorite. Like that part does make me side-eyed a little bit because it's not my favorites way things could have gone down, but I still really enjoyed the book overall. It was so good. I really, really enjoyed Carly Fortune. Meet Me at the Lake I enjoyed as well, but that one I just like didn't get as invested in because like in that book, they only know each other for one day. It's still past and present perspective, but they only had known each other one singular day. So it's a little harder to like get behind the like, I don't know, like it didn't feel as realistic to me. This one did in the sense that like you're watching them year by year grow closer and closer. It was just such a great story. Really love Carly Fortune. And I know she's coming out with another one next year and I cannot wait. I hope I love it. Super exciting. Moving on to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. This one I just got because I know it's like a popular like YA mystery. And I was like, sure, I'll give it a shot. I think it was on the like buy one, get one half off table at Barnes & Noble. I loved this. Like as I was reading it, I was like, I love this so much. And then when I finished it, I was like, that was amazing. Like I just felt blown away. Like I had that 5-star feeling. I loved trying to piece together what was going to happen. I didn't predict exactly how it all went down. It was just fun. It was thrilling. It was exciting. And even though it was YA, it wasn't like too juvenile in my opinion. It's basically our main character. She's a senior in high school and she's doing basically her like senior projects. Yeah, it's like her senior final project. And she decides to take on this case that had happened a few years prior where this girl had gotten murdered and the accusations went on her boyfriend at the time, who did unfortunately unalive himself, and she wants to figure out the truth because she never thought that he did it. She was always skeptical of what went down, so she decides to take matters into her own hands and figure out what really went down a few years after it happened. So this was a fun ride. I loved seeing what went down. I loved getting to know all these characters and trying to piece together like what happened. It was just so fun. I own the second one already. I found it on the discount table at Books A Million, so I will read that at some point because I have heard that the second and third books in this series weren't great, so I was honestly okay with just calling this one and done, but then seeing that one on the discount table, I was like, I feel like I can't not. So I will eventually read that one and then maybe read the third one as well, but I don't have high hopes. I'm sure this one is the best one, but we'll see. I'm excited nonetheless. This was a fantastic book. I didn't expect to love that one as much as I did. I just thought that it would be a fun read, but I didn't expect to like love it the way I did. All right, next up. Someone's gonna complain in the comments. If I ever mention anything relating to Colleen Hoover, people get mad. And I've only read 3 of her books and they were fine. I mean, this one I really enjoyed. I put it in the 5-star pile, but they're fine. But people love to get angry about Colleen Hoover. I don't know what it is. Like I utter her name and people are like, I can't believe you read a Colleen Hoover book. But this was Varity. I loved it. I loved it so much. Full disclosure, this is the original version, not the new version with the bonus chapters. I have read the bonus chapters. The bonus chapters I feel like made the book bad. The bonus chapters did not do anything except make it worse, honestly. But the book originally by itself, I thought was really freaking good. We have our main character, Lowen. She is basically a writer and she gets recruited to be a ghostwriter for this really famous author who is currently like kind of in a comatose situation and she needs to get her books finished. So she moves into the house with the husband and the kid and is kind of like going through her stuff and just not like in a creepy way, but like kind of going through her notes and stuff to like figure out how to like finish out these books that she was supposed to be writing. And in doing that, she discovers this like like memoir, that's the word I'm looking for, from the author that she's ghostwriting for, in the perspective that it's real, like a real story from her mind. And it is messed up. It's insane. Like the things that she says in this, like she talks about like all these horrific things that she did and just awful, horrible things. So now Lowen's in this weird predicament where it's like, your wife is crazy. I don't know what to do. She starting to see things. It's a really fun kind of thriller situation. It's kind of like thriller with some romance mixed in. Honestly, the romance was whatever in this book. I don't care about that. But the thrilling aspect was really, really fun. And then at the end, you really are like kind of questioning like, what was the truth? Was the book real? Was it all made up? Like, what is happening in this? I thought this was really fun. I know people love to hate Colleen Hoover, but this was a really fun book in my opinion. Next up, Miss Emily Henry. I really enjoy Emily Henry. I've read 3 of her books so far. I want to read Happy Place so bad, but I am impatiently waiting for the paperback because the hardcover wouldn't match my other books. But People We Meet on Vacation is by far my favorite one she's written so far. I loved this. Again, we have a lot of the tropes that I love. We have past and present perspective. We have friends to lovers. These are basically 2 best friends. They met in college and they started taking vacations together every summer. They travel all over the place. So in the past perspective, we're just getting to see a lot of their previous vacations, previous summers together, seeing their friendship grow and flourish. And then we have the now where they are not friends anymore. And it's like, why are they not friends? What happened? I loved this. I love the character building in here. We have Alex and Poppy. Emily Henry is so good. I love her writing style so much. Most people like Beach Read the most. Beach Read was fine. I loved Gus, but People We Meet on Vacation is by far my favorite. It was just so good. I really enjoyed just kind of seeing what happened with them. I loved watching their friendship grow and then trying to figure out what caused a rift in their friendship. It was so freaking good. Loved it. And I want Happy Place so badly. Please and thank you. Oh, next up, The Xhex by Erin Sterling. This was the book. This was the book that brought me back. I picked this up randomly at a bookstore when we were visiting Savannah. I love that bookstore, the E-Shaver, I think is what it's called. It's so good. There's cats that live there. It's amazing. But I was getting that feeling that I was like, I want to start reading again. Like it was one of my goals for this year. I think my initial reading goal was 6 books, like reading a book every other month. I was like, I'm going to start slow. Obviously surpassed it and got to, what was it, like around 110 books. This was the book I picked up. I was like, I don't know. This seems cute. Witchy, magical, romance. It wasn't super long and I loved it. I loved this so much. And it's funny because like reading it now, maybe I wouldn't give it 5 stars because this was like my first book back, but maybe I would because I did really enjoy it. I loved Reese and Vivian. It was such a fun story, very magical. She basically curses her ex-boyfriend, who is Reese. She curses him as like a joke. It wasn't like supposed to be real, but then it actually ended up being real. So then he comes back to this town. He lives like across the seas. Comes back to her town trying to figure out what's going on with the ley lines. His magic's acting all wonky. Come to find out it was his ex that had cursed him. So now they have to work together, figure out how to get his magic all situated, get things back, save the town, all that fun stuff. So it's very much a like second chance romance, maybe not enemies to lovers, that might be a little extreme, but dislike to lovers, second chance romance, kind of forced proximity because they're forced to like fix this problem together. This was really fun. I really enjoyed the companion novel, The Kiss Curse, as well, which is through her cousin Gwen's perspective. And I know that there's a 3rd one coming at some point. It was supposed to come out last year, or actually this year. It was supposed to come out this year, and it got delayed to sometime next year. And I really hope it comes soon because I am itching for more. I loved this world. The town is so freaking cute. It was a fun story. And my last 2 books are actually from the same author, both by Ashley Poston. I just love her. She is one of my favorites. I've read 2 of her books so far and both of them have been 5-star perfection. I don't know if she has more books than these. These are just the ones I've read so far. Dead Romantics, so freaking good. She is a ghost writer who can also see ghosts. She goes back to her hometown to assist with a funeral because her family owns a funeral service as well. And the guy that is like the new editor or something for her like ghostwriting situation ends up showing up at her family's doorstep as a ghost. So she's trying to figure out what to do with him, help him figure out how to like cross over, check the things off his little ghostly list so he can move on his way. But the way things ended, the way things all wrapped up together in a cute little bow, oh my gosh, the emotions that I felt, it was heavy, it was beautiful, it all worked together so perfectly. The beginning of the book was a little slow because you're just trying to figure out like who these characters are, what are they doing. But once you like basically get to the part where she goes back home, it is so good. And just the way it all wrapped up, I felt so emotional. Like after I like finished it, I just kind of like shut the book and just kind of like sighed, and Zane was like, "You good?" I was like, it was just such a good book. I loved this. I loved this so much. If I could read a book again for the first time, this would be one of them for sure. And last but not least, we have The 7-Year Slip, again, also by Ashley Poston. This was so beautiful. This was another kind of like magical time travel-y kind of romance. Basically, our main character, she was super, super close with her aunt, and then she ended up passing away, I think sometime this year that the book is taking place. So she moves into her aunt's old apartment, and her aunt always said that like the apartment was magical, but she always just thought like, that's crazy, you know, that's not real. But she wakes up one morning and she's supposed to just be there alone, like living her life. And this guy is just there in the apartment and she's like, what is happening? He's like, your aunt told me I can be here. Like I'm renting it out while she's on vacation. And she sees the note and she sees like the calendar in the inside of the apartment and realizes this is 7 years in the past when she actually was on vacation with her aunt. And this guy is actually just like renting the place out temporarily. So basically, this apartment has this magical ability to sometimes slip into a different time. It's not controllable. The outside of the apartment is just regular day to day, but inside this specific apartment, she is now 7 years in the past. So we have various moments of her being in this apartment with him 7 years ago, and then we are in the present where she's trying to make things match up from past to present, figure out what is connecting, what isn't connecting. It's really kind of hard to explain, but I really super enjoyed this one. I thought it was a great, great book. Magical, wonderful. I feel like it deals with the topics of grief really well, and it was just such a beautiful book. She is a winner for me. Oh my gosh, I have one more 5-star read before I get to my honorable mention, but I don't have it physically because I read it as an audiobook. I'll pop a picture right here. It was I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. And it did feel kind of weird to even rate this book because it's a memoir. Like it's a true story. She's the one who did the audio for it, which was so good. I loved listening to her tell the story. It was only like a 6-hour audiobook and it was perfect. It's heavy, it's hard. You're getting a lot of the like raw, what really happened behind the scenes as like a childhood actress. Things she grew up with, her abusive mom. It was heavy topics, eating disorders, like so many trigger warnings. Look up all the trigger warnings. But it was so beautifully written. I feel like she did a really good job kind of just telling her story and conveying her thoughts and emotions, how she felt like in the moment, rather than like a reflection on. Like she was telling the story as if it's happening in real time, not as if it's just like, oh yeah, 5 years ago this happened. It was so good. And again, it felt weird to rate it, but I just loved it. Like I loved it so much, and I thought it was just so brave of her to tell her story so raw like this. So had to give it 5 stars. I thought it was a wonderful book. And now my honorable mention. Now this book, it's not profoundly great. Like it's not like the best writing in the world. It's not complex, but it's cozy and it's cute, and I'm wondering if any of you will guess what I'm gonna say, but it's the Shady Hol series. Like I think on average, I've given the 3 books so far like 3.5 stars or so. But these are just cute. These are basically cozy, cute little murder mysteries, but they're all animals. Like our main character is Vera Vixen. She's a fox. Like I always think of these characters as like Fantastic Mr. Fox vibes. Like they're animals, but they like wear clothes and they talk and they have like jobs. Like it's just so cute and so precious. And like if a murder mystery could be cute and cozy, that's what these are. I love it. I actually looked up last night because I was like, I think a 4th one is coming out, and it's already out. So I need to order that soon, because even though these aren't like living, breathing, dying, like fantastic literary works, I just think they're fun and they're cute and they're cozy. And I have to be honest, I initially bought this just because the cover is freaking adorable. Love these. I think these are so freaking cute, and I just wanted to throw this in as an honorable mention because like I said, even though they're not like great as far as just like complexity and the way it's written and stuff, they're just cute and cozy, and I've found a lot of joy reading these. So that's that. Yeah, I've been babbling for a very long time. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I know books aren't like my main focus on this channel, but it's something I'm very passionate about. It's something I really, really enjoy. I love doing my reading wrap-ups at the end of the month, and I thought this would be a good way to do kind of a yearly wrap-up. I wasn't really interested in doing like a ranking video of all the books because like, I don't know, it's hard to rank books against each other because I love them for such different reasons. Like, I mean, all of these are 5-star books that are next to me for the most part, and like, it's hard to even pick favorites between those 5 stars because I just love them all. So I didn't really want to do a ranking. I just wanted to talk about my absolute favorites, 23 of my favorite books from 2023. I'm really excited for 2024. I'm excited for lots of reading and book shopping. We're finally getting a Barnes & Noble back in my town early next year, and I am so freaking stoked. And yeah, this was my video. I hope you enjoyed it. Do you love any of these books as much as I do? What are your favorite books from the year? I would love to know. If you made it to the end of this video, leave some book emojis. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Helps my channel out a lot. And if you're not already, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm battybean there as well. Also, feel free to subscribe. I'm posting most days over here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Okay, bye.